Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. I received a package from Italy through Germany from a brilliant recreator of antique decks from the Marseille tradition, from the Italian tradition, called Marco Benedetti, and at least I'm 99.99999 repeating sure that that is what this is. I haven't looked inside yet, but I think I know what's in here. There should be two decks. One of them is a Minchiate deck, and which is a very freshly redrawn deck. And one of them is a facsimile reproduction, cleaned up, of a Payan deck. So I think that's what's in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the box and make sure with you on camera, and then we'll walk through the Minchiate deck. I'll put it side by side with a Minchiate deck from a different tradition because they're going to look very different, I'm sure. And then if you're curious, if you want me to do it, in the description box, in the comments below, write me a message if you want me to do a walkthrough of the Payan. Okay? So that's how we're going to roll. I'll flip the camera down, I'll open the box with you, and then we'll walk through the Minchiate, if that's what's in there. Let's see. Friends, we are here, we are back, and let me just review what we're going to do. First, I'm going to open up this box and we'll take a look at the packaging, the boxing for the two, I believe there are two decks inside of this box. One of them should be a Minchiate and one of them should be a Terre de Marseille Payan. Then I will pull out the Minchiate and we'll do a side-by-side walkthrough or a flip-through with the Terre Minchiate al Leone di Girolamo, which says it's of Leone, but I think it was actually produced in Viterbo in northern Italy. So this is the deck we're going to use for a side-by-side, and these cards are pretty small. I'm not sure what size the cards from Mr. Benedetti are going to be. So let's dive in and look together. So I'll put this box aside and we'll go ahead and open this one. I've got my knife here. If knives bother you, look away. Let's see, here we go. Opening up a box from, like I said, originally from Italy, but via Germany to come to me in South Korea. So that's nice and open. And here we go. What's inside of here? Okay, yes, styrofoam, yay! Then we have deck number 1 and deck number 2. We'll take away this box. So one of these should be a Minchiate and one of these should be the Terre Payan. I believe this is probably the Terre Payan. Let's see if I'm right. Now, he always wraps his decks in sheets from his other decks, and this is, I just love that. I just love the way he packages his stuff. So let's see. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at the paper of the packaging is a present in and of itself. So on the wrapping for this deck, which I believe is the Minchiate, yes, and I believe it's upside down. So let's see. Oh, yes, here. Oh no, this is the Payan. Okay, so this is the Terre de Payan in this beautiful box. So let's see. What do we have on the wrapping paper? We've got the Lover, the Chariot. We've got Justice, La Force or Strength, the Wheel, and the Hermit. Look at the blues on that. Can you see that gorgeous steel blue and the red clearly? I hope you can. The colors are pretty much accurate, I think, on the camera. I'm using only the sunlight from the window, so they should be pretty accurate, although maybe not as bright as they might be in person. Well, it looks pretty good. Okay, so wrapping paper aside, this box Oh, look at this box. It's created to look like a book, but it's made out of wood, and it's lovely. I'll give you a quick peek inside. There's a oh, look at that presentation. Okay, so if you're interested in a walkthrough of this gorgeous deck, let me know in the comments below. Because right now we're going to take this deck away, and we're going to focus on this one, which should be the Minchiate. And we've got the Minchiate wrapped in paper with the minors for the swords of a different deck. From, here we go, from ace all the way to 10. Lovely, lovely. The paper is, like I said, the wrapping paper is a gift in and of itself. And here we have, yes, the Minchiate Florentine, Carte Fine Benedetti. So yes, look at that magician. So let me pull in the deck that we're going to do a side-by-side with. This is the one from, I believe, and the name is gone out of my head again. The name is from Viterbo. I think it's from Viterbo, but it says from Leone. Okay, so let me get this off just a moment. Let's look at the box here. His boxes are just lovely. I mean, they're simple in design, plain cream-colored paper, beautiful image on the top, but look at what he does with his boxes. Yeah, they're slip-out boxes. And the interior of the box is signed. Inside, it's good. I mean, nothing spectacular, but very good. But I love the way he makes his boxes for his decks. They're just fabulous, and I love having the signature there. And here we pull out the deck, and we can see here the title card, Minchiate Fiorentine Carte Fine Benedetti, prima edizione limitata, numera da 1 a 100, no, what is this? 50. I've forgotten my Italian is slipping away from me. And this is number 20, 20 alla 23. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to try and remember Italian for you. But not because of you, but because it's going to take too much time. So here we go. This is the, you can see a little bit of the cut edges from the paper here. That's not a big problem. This is all hand done, right? And okay, so let me show you the back of the deck. Here we go, Benedetti. Benedetti, it's beautiful. And let me show you the back of the comparison deck. Now this was a Kickstarter that I got, and here we have the back says Armondo. This one says Benedetti, but a very Minchiate style back of a deck. And I think I'll be able to, let's see, move the camera in a little bit so you get a better close-up view. And since this is a thick deck, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split off the minors so that we don't have too many cards on camera at one time. Now, slip off the minors there. We'll look through the majors quickly. We'll look through the majors together, and then we'll go to the minors. Does that make sense? I hope so, because that's what we're going to do. And I just banged my knee. Let's see. So yeah, let's get you a little bit closer here. And let me see if I can get us a little bit of decoration in here too, just to make things a little prettier. Okay. Wow, that's a really, really tight square. A rectangle for the view. Okay. So that's close up, very nicely close up. And let me remove the title card. You can see that this deck here is thick. Well, I don't know if you can see it. Actually, no. The deck from Mr. Benedetti is thicker than the one from my Kickstarter. Okay, we got this card. We want to hide this card for now because I don't think this card should be at the top. Let's start off with card number 1, which is the Magician, right? Now, this is a facsimile deck. This is a redrawn deck. Colors here are going to be bright, bold, and beautiful. Colors here are going to be muted. And like I said, this is a facsimile. So areas that were worn remain worn. right? Areas where the ink was smudged remain smudged. But look at the beautiful color on here. And pretty much they're similar, right? We see this form here. We see the disc here. We see that he's holding something in his hand. We see there are two young people behind. You know, we see the little feather in the cap up there. Very similar collar line to both magicians. Now we see that he's sitting on a box. There are some differences, right? Here we can see the skirting on this figure and the clothes on this figure behind the table, whereas these two figures seem to disappear a little bit below the waist, don't they? Okay, so, you know, I want to go get a pointer, and since I am at my house, my apartment, the best pointer I have to use is going to be a chopstick. Let me go get a chopstick. I'll be right back. I am back with my trusty chopstick, and this trusty chopstick will help me to keep things looking good and help me to point at stuff. So we just saw the magician, and here we are, card number 2. And card number 2 does not look like the papes, right? As we would expect in, what do we call it? In the regular tarot cards. This is, we can consider her the Empress, and that's how I would read her, but actually this is him, believe it or not, with breasts. This is the Grand Duke. At least the title of this card is the Grand Duke. But we can see, okay, notice this difference here. In this deck, the Grand Duke is holding the sphere of power, whereas in this redrawing, the Grand Duke is holding what looks like the emblem from what would normally be a shield on the Empress card, right? Interesting. Both holding a fleur-de-lis scepter. Cool. And here we go with what could be the Emperor, and that's probably how I would read the card, the Emperor of the, but this is, okay, so I'm sorry. This figure is often read as the Emperor. Yeah, no, I was right, the Emperor. Yes, the Emperor. Emperor of the West, but I will read this card as the Emperor. You'll notice that also we have the fleur-de-lis scepter, and both of them have the sphere of power. Crowns are very similar. Color of clothes is different, but like I said, this is a redrawing. But even so, though this is a redrawing, it's drawn to look like a wood block, right? We can see the broken lines here and the broken lines here around the eye very clearly. And here we have card number 4, which is the Popes for us, or for me, but actually is the Emperor of the East. And you'll notice that both of them have a sphere with a bird on top of it. Notice the veiling around the face. A little bit different on the redrawn than it is on this facsimile. Notice the red dots. I've got a complete walkthrough of this deck alone, which I will link up here if you want it. I'll link a walkthrough of this deck. So I'm not going to point out how those red spots are cool and important to me, etc., etc. I've done that already. Next card is card number 5, which is the lover card, right? Or love card. See Cupid? This Cupid's a little bit more plump cherubic than this Cupid. Look how large this crown is relative to the size of the head of the figure kneeling in this one. The head and the crown seem to match more in the redrawn version, right? And here we go with card 6, which would yet in a tarot deck be this would be the lover card or the lover's card. Here we have temperance. Do you notice many differences? Except for, of course, this card is much more easy to see because the line work is so much crisper. Foot sticking out, both of them, yep. No, I love that this urn is silver pouring into gold. We got that alchemical feel for this deck, whereas we don't get that color difference. I mean, yeah, there is a difference in color, but brown and orange is not so meaningful for me as gold and silver are. So card 7 is strength, force, right? Lovely. Both of them holding a nice column in the arm. There's this thing that looks like the frame of a picture to me. Now, this is force or the fortress in some traditions, some ways of calling the cards. Lovely. I love the blues and reds in this card. But like I'm also glad to have this more, I don't know, this older feeling deck. Even though it isn't an older deck, it was printed just this year. And here we have 8, which would be justice. Lovely. Sword held upright. Notice how the printing here, the color on the sword, is not all that, I mean, it looks like it's aged, right? There are chips in the black, which is kind of cool. Attention to detail is phenomenal. Look how what would be the strings or the chains holding the cup, the holders, the cups on the scale. Notice how those lines are broken too. So this is a redrawn deck with an attention to also worn edges and the roughness of wood block print, right? Here we have the wheel. The Wheel of Fortune is at number 8. Both of them, the donkeys on the top. One human going down, one human going up, one human lying prone on the ground, looking a little bit like a tempter, if you ask me. That's just me. Now, okay, so notice here, just like that first card, which I would read as the Empress, the figure was holding an orb in this deck, and the symbol from the shield for the Empress in this deck. Same thing with this donkey, right? Well, that's interesting. That's a very interesting thing, truly. And the Chariot comes at 10, and these two look very different to me. Yeah? This figure looks much more male to me, and this figure looks much more female to me. What about you? Do you see different bodies in these? Love the horses in both of them. Love the plumes in both of the horses' manes as well. Fabulous. And card 11. Card 11 is time. Time. And you'll notice that both of them have this arrow here in the upper left-hand corner. And a deer walking beside Father Time, right? And here we have 12, one of my favorite cards in all decks, the Hanged Man, Le Pendu, Le Peso. Both of them have coins in their hands, or maybe loaves of bread, maybe. This Hanged Man seems to be held up by what appears to me to be a snake, whereas this looks more like a vine or a rope to me. Can you see that difference as well? The legs on this Hanged Man are very beautifully muscular, right? Love the colors, love the greens here. And 13 is the nameless card, right? Number 13, the skeleton on a horse with the scythe. A lot more verdant green in this card than in this card. Now we've got a patch of scorched earth here at the foot of the horse in the facsimile deck, whereas here it's all lush green to me. And we can clearly see that there's a laurel wreath on the head of the skeleton here, whereas this could be a crown. It's difficult to say what this is. 14 is Le Diable, the devil. Lovely. Whoa. Okay, come on, baby. Get back in line. Devil wants to run away. Okay, so the devil. Beautifully done. Yeah. The bat wings. I love the red veins in these bat wings here. I also love these bat wings too. The snakes are much easier to see, of course, because it's redrawn. Love the nipples on both of these devils. Fabulous, fabulous work. Which of these devils looks friendlier to you? This one or this one? They both actually have fairly pleasant expressions on their faces, don't they? Isn't that interesting? Okay, so for 15, we have the house of the devil. And perhaps Adam and Eve escaping. Now, this is called the house of the devil, rather than the Maison Dieu. Notice how Eve has what looks like a laurel wreath around her pelvis here, if that's Eve. The fire coming down from above, yellow and red, all that fiery energy. Here it's orange. Although I do like the variation of color here in the tower itself on the facsimile card, frankly. But this is, there's no mistaking the clarity of the redrawn deck. It's just gorgeously done. And here we have 16, which is hope. In Korean, himang, just in case you wanted to know. Crown floating in the sky, beautifully done. Look at the expression on her face, and the hat or halo, it's just gorgeous. These blues and reds are brilliant, brilliant. And we have temperance, I believe, right? Of course. I'm sorry, prudence, not temperance, prudence. Now, isn't it interesting? You can just barely make out the reflection in this mirror here, whereas here we see even the color of the dress and the hair and the face, just so much clarity of image in the redrawn deck. It's just beautiful. And yet we do have the broken lines here, which are also wonderful. Now we have a clarity and a nod to the antiquity of this deck. And so another person looking in a mirror for faith, although this faith person looks much more, well, male, whereas this faith person looks more female to me. What about you? What do you think? Does this person look male to you? Maybe non-binary? But that beard is just inescapable. And so here we have 18, which is faith. Not faith. Yes, faith. No, I skipped a card. Wait a second. Let's see. 3, 4. I'm sorry, we looked at faith already. This is charity, of course. I'm sorry. A little bit of a brain fart. This is charity. I still have to do my study period with the Minchiate. I've gotten my resources all together now. Now it's time for me to actually sit down and start really doing some study work on them. But these are beautiful cards. The red of the fire here is fabulous. Orange is also nice. Yeah? And speaking of orange fire and red fire, here we have fire. Yeah, the element fire. And what looks like a dog to me. Yellow earth and green earth here. Very interesting, different choices. Fabulous. Notice the spots on this dog are much fewer than... This could almost be, I don't know, a leopard. Whereas this does not look like a leopard to me. And here we have the element of water. So we have a ship, 2 figures on the ship. We've got wind blowing a little bit, but not too much. And we can see the lion at the... Wouldn't this be the stern? Doesn't this look like the prow to you? Are they going backwards? Or are they just looking backwards? I mean, this looks like a rudder, but this looks like the stern. I don't know. What do you think? Is this the bow or the stern? it looks like they're looking this way, but the wind seems to be blowing the sails that way. So are they looking to the past? Are they moving in this direction? And is this the stern? Is that the rudder at the bow? Prow? Holy cow. Okay, so here we have the element of earth. And frankly, this confuses me a little bit still because there's so much water in this earth card. Even, yeah, I see the tree and I see the city, but this river is so pronounced and it's flowing out to the bottom of the card. Whereas here, that water is much more limited. We only see a little bit of water here. So I think it'll be easier for me to remember that this is the earth card and not get confused. The next card is air. And I don't remember, there's got to be meaning to the number of these stars, right? We have 6, 7, 8 stars here on both of them. Birds at the top, mountains above the birds in the air, little lizard-like creature down at the bottom, just gorgeous. Love that this one is colored in green. That one's fine not being colored in, but I love the colors in this deck. I love that we've got different shades of green here, different shades of green. No more to be said. And so we're into the zodiac now. And this is Libra, right? We got the scales. We got a creature on top of the scales, perhaps tipping the scales for us, right? We got a little, maybe a porcupine down there at the bottom with horns. Who knows? And this would be Virgo. Virgo, easy to remember since they're in order, but you know, if this deck were shuffled and this card came out, I'd probably have to look it up to make sure I knew that this was Virgo. You know what I mean? Because I still haven't really studied the decks that clearly, or that with that focus. And here is Scorpio, not Cancer, Scorpio, with the bird. Now, I don't know if you know this, but this is probably an eagle, right? There are stages of Scorpio's evolution. Scorpio begins as the scorpion and evolves to a snake, and the scorpion and the snake are about equivalent stages of evolution. And then the scorpion snake evolves into the eagle, which is able to fly, but still a little bit airy, a little underdeveloped. And then the final stage of development for Scorpio is the phoenix. So right now, what I think this creature represents would be the eagle stage of evolution. At least it would for me. And we have Aries. Now, isn't it interesting? Here's the Aries card. Isn't it interesting that the order of these zodiacal signs is so different? Now, we went from Libra to Virgo to Scorpio, where it would be Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, right? And now we're all the way back to the beginning of the zodiac with Aries, which is an interesting thing. And next is Capricorn. Those two are not next to each other at all. But love this blue Capricorn being with a plant-like tail, kind of cool. Holding up this, here it kind of looks like, does that look like a wick of a candle to you? I don't know what this is. A scepter, maybe. This looks more like a scepter. This looks like a staff with a candle at the top, with a wick coming out of the top, to me. And Sagittarius, the bowman, with this looks like a pig. That doesn't look like a pig to me. Does that look like a pig to you? Let me know in the comments below. But I love the red. Okay, full disclosure. Cancer. I had thought about buying this deck many, 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 many times, to tell you the truth. And there were a couple of cards where the amount of this red was so pronounced that it set me off. I mean, not set me off like I got angry or irritated or something. It just made me think, I don't know if I really want to work with that much red on one card, you know? But I finally got it. When we get to that card, I'll show you. But I really, in person, I love the red. I really, really do love this red of the Cancer card and where it's shown up before already. Here we have Pisces, my moon sign, Pisces. Notice the water connecting the two fish. Now, it looks to me like these two fish are coming out of water, whereas this is clearly land to me. It almost looks like they're vomiting into each other's mouths. Okay, let's move right along. Moving on to Aquarius. Now, the order of the zodiacal signs in the Minchiate deck is so interesting. I need to lay them out and see if they've got I hadn't thought about that. Have they grouped let's see, no, they haven't grouped the elements together, because that would, Cancer and Pisces were together, but that would mean that Scorpio should be there too, but it's not. So it's not that. And it's clearly not the mutables are all together and the fixeds are all together and the cardinals are all together either. I'm almost sure of that too. So I'm not sure why these are ordered in the way that they are ordered. And Leo. Well, wait a second. Okay, so Aquarius is fixed, Leo is fixed, but Scorpio is fixed. And no. Scorpio, we've already passed that. But look at this lovely Leo. Now this background of red was one of the cards that made me think, I don't know if I can do this. But I clearly can. I love it now. A lion rampant. And the next card is Taurus. Beautiful. So we got fixed earth, fixed air, fixed fire all together, but then fixed water was way there at the beginning, so I don't know. Fixed water being Scorpio. And we have Gemini, the twins. Both of them looking like girl twins, right? Lovely, lovely beings. Interesting, very interesting. The variation of color on the ground here is lovely, but I really like these two different colors of green. I've said that before, but I do. I really, 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 really do. And then, okay, so here's where we get the red growing in intensity in this deck that started making me think, I don't know if I can work with this. Here's the star card. Lovely. I love the clean lines. I gotta say, I love the clean lines, but pretty much they're similar, right? This star is more simply drawn than this one, but they're both beautiful. Both of them are looking in the same direction. Both of them holding a chalice. We can see the robe covering the leg on the figure on the horse in both of these. We can see the equipage for the horse as well. Just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And after the star should be the moon, right? Yes, it's the moon with the astronomer. And we can kind of see what looks like maybe phases of the moon, a full moon, a new moon, a crescent moon, maybe. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around the wheel on a shield or something against his chair, holding a compass, measuring the sky. Lovely. Isn't it interesting how this seems to be, what I see is, even though it really isn't that way, because this hole would not go up into the ceiling, but it looks to me like here's the edge of the wall, and here's the ceiling, and here's a window, and looking through the window, we can see the moon. Does that make sense? Does that make possible sense? Whereas here, I don't see any wall or ceiling. It just looks like this guy's looking up at, well, maybe this is all just a red wall with a round hole for a window, and then we see the night sky and the full moon. That's another way of looking at that, I think. And probably the correct way of looking at that. My seeing a full moon, a new moon, and a crescent moon is probably just my imagination. Okay, so I need my other hand to do this. Here's the sun card. Look at that couple sitting there enjoying a day in the park in the sun. Lovely. Blue-haired lady alert. With blue shoes here. Very red sky. Now, did you notice that we lost the numbers here? Yeah, from the star to the moon to the sun, no numbers. All the numbers are gone in both decks. And the world card. Da, 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 da. We see the world, and in the world there's a city and fields and a farm perhaps out in the distance here. Here we've got a city and fields, and that looks like a boat to me. Does that look like a boat to you? I don't know if you can see that. We've got the cherubs of the four winds, the crown, beautiful wings of the angel holding an arrow. Just lovely. And here we have what I would call judgment, but here it's called the trumpets, which follows the world card. Now, when we think of tarot, this card would be before the world card, right? But in Minchiate, it follows the world card. We can see the city here. We can see the one gate. We see one gate here. And what looks like the side of the wall of the fortress wall here. Whereas here, this could all be one straight line, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Love the rays of divine energy pouring out of the butt of the angel in both of these decks. And here again, we've got that differentiation. We got what looks like it could be a ceiling, maybe. I don't know. I wonder what they were thinking with this. It's curious. Okay, now, I'm going to clear this deck away. Because, you know what? In a lot of traditions, the one card that I have pulled out from this deck and the other deck comes at the very end of the deck. Not the end of the trumps, but the end of the deck. And that's where we're going to put it. That's where I'm going to put it, at least. So, what do we have now? First, we are going to look at the wands, the Ace of Wands. So let me pull out the Ace of Wands from this one. Can you see them both clearly? Let me check the camera. Yes, you can see them both clearly. Okay. So I can't really see the camera, by the way. I can't see the screen of the camera when I'm down messing with the cards with you. So just know that I'm trying to keep them as vertical as I can, but they're going to go a little twisty sometimes. Okay, Ace of Wands, beautiful. See the ribbons there on the side? Differently drawn, but they're there. The hand reaching out. Very different looking sleeves, right? We've got a cuff on that sleeve and just a plain old sleeve on that side. We're going to see more red in this deck, I believe. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Yeah, red wand, almost black, but maybe just very, 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 very dark steel blue, maybe. The bird drinking out of a vessel of some sort and a dog watching on. Human up there on the top, maybe, with it's now that I had not thought of this as something aflame, but in this deck I can really see that this cornucopia is also aflame. Looks like they're holding a rifle, right? But that adds that element of fire to the wands suit, I believe. 3 of wands, very plain. But you'll notice here that the wands break the boundary of the borders, right? Now we don't see the tips of these wands, whereas here we see the whole thing. And yet the border here is broken and worn in places. It's just attention to detail. Yeah, Marco Benedetti is just a beautiful, beautiful artist. Beautiful human, beautiful work, all-rounder. Just lovely. 4 of wands. And I want to say it's easier to count the wands when the colors are so crisp and clear. And I think it's true for me. I think it is true that it's easy. I have to pay more attention, whereas here 4 comes right to my head. Here I've got to look, okay, yeah, that is 4. Since they're so blurry, it takes me a brief millisecond longer to recognize that this is a 4. Does that make sense? 5s? Yep. Very similarly drawn. We can see that the wands here are breaking the border just a little bit in the redrawn deck, whereas here they're really breaking the border, especially down there at the bottom. A little bit here at the top as well. And the 6s. Lovely. My pile is starting to tip over on the side. Okay, the 6 of wands. Now this color is looking more and more like black to me as we go through the deck. Whereas it looked a little bit more... No, it's black. It's black. I'm sorry. I'm being silly. It's not dark, 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 dark steel blue. It's black, which is wonderful. I love that. That's not criticism. It's just my silly eyes were seeing something else. Okay, here we go with the 7s. Sorry, the 7s. I did have to count here. Now notice here we've got that wand missing here. Whereas in the 5, the wand is missing in the center because we've got something filling the hole. Here, we just got the holes. Here, because we've got that orange color filling in, it doesn't look like this wand is broken. Whereas here, the central wand really does look like it's broken. Does that make sense to you? And the 8s. Lovely. And here at the 8s, we're really getting the idea of the wands going beyond the border in this deck, where we've gotten that more in this deck here. In the facsimile deck, we saw that breaking of the boundary of the border much earlier than we did in the redrawn deck. And this would be the 9s. Again, the back wand, the odd numbered wand, disappears. Here, it doesn't look like it disappears. There's stuff going on in front of it. And number 10, both the horizontal and the vertical wand disappear here. Whereas, again, the center is filled in, so I don't even think about that. Whereas here, because those holes are the same color as the background, it looks like the vertical and the horizontal wands are not completed. They're broken. The Page of Wands. Now the pages in this deck are both male and female. This looks like a male page to me, the wands. And you'd think that maybe the wands and the swords would be male and the coins and the cups would be female, but that's not the way it rolls. We'll see that in just a moment. But lovely. Love the ground of this redrawn deck. Again, those 2 different colors of green. I love that. But I also love the orange and the multicolored, because all of these colors are so faded. Some of them retain their older intensity, and some of the colors have faded quite a bit. So there are some darker oranges, and there's some lighter oranges, and there are some darker greens and lighter greens, and there's a bleeding around the lines, whereas here it's all very crisp. And still we have that sense of it being a woodblock print, right, in the redrawn deck. Both very similar. Now they're both looking basically at the same spot. It's easier to tell here where the tail is in the redrawn deck. Here, it's like this tail seems to be starting here, although it may be starting here. It's hard to tell. Here we see that the tail goes all the way around here, right? Lovely. I love the green and red on the shield here. I love that we can see different colors of plants. It's gorgeous, gorgeous decks. Here's the Queen of Wands. Lovely. Lovely green dress, lovely design elements, very clearly seen. Here the design elements are lovely, but you got to search for them. It's like, what is just a smudge? What is a line? What's going on here? Those feet? Yes, those are feet. Here it's very clear on the left in the redrawn deck. Notice here at the top, these squares are different colors in my deck, from my facsimile deck from Viterbo. This deck, they're the same. And it'll probably be the same for the king, right? Yes, the king, same design on both sides. Here the king, just like the queen, we've got one orange square and one green square. Very similar, although it's, again, easier to see the clothing details on the redrawn deck, as you would expect. The scepter is much easier to see as well as the block that the king is sitting on. Very young king, right? Blue-black hair, love that. Fabulous. But this is such a beautiful deck. And remember how I said at the very, very beginning I wasn't sure about size differences? We haven't really talked about that yet. They are basically the same size. The only difference is the Kickstarter deck, which is a facsimile, has rounded quarters, whereas the deck redrawn by Marco Benedetti has square corners. Except for that, same size cards, almost exactly. Kind of cool. So if I want to pair them, I can pair them. Next suit is the cups. Let me pull out the cups. Here we go. Gorgeous flowers. Red flowers, green leaves, gold balls at the bottom of the chalice. Red flower, green leaves growing out of the cup. Just easy to see, right? But there's a beauty to this worn image from the facsimile deck as well. So I'm not saying that I feel bad that I'd rather use this deck instead of this deck, or that I wish this deck were different. That's not what I'm saying at all. There's a softness, a gentleness to this facsimile deck, and there's a boldness and a vibrancy to the redrawn deck. And they both have their own place in my library in the world. Two of chalices, very similar. Almost exactly the same, right? Except for the coloration of the top of the lid. I'd say they're identical. Well, okay. Well, I don't know. The pattern here might be a little different, but that could just be age and printing style. I don't know. But basically, to my eye, they're the same. Okay. Carte fine Benedetti, cards made by Benedetti, carte fine in Bologna. Okay, so this text is saying it's from Bologna, also northern Italy. Another part of the deck says that it was produced in Viterbo, but you know, northern Italy, right? Oh, okay, so this one's different. Well, also, the two is different as well. Places are different, but this is different. Fleur de lis here, and here we have the eagle from the imperial shield. Lovely. 5 of cups, also lovely. Fabulous. I wonder how this deck is going to be to shuffle. We'll try that out together. The 6 of chalices. Like I said, these dots, I love. These dots remind me of the floral decoration in Terre de Marseille, 6 of cups. Does Does that mean anything to you? Do you remember that? Can you see that in your mind's eye? Lovely. I didn't mention the dotty borders, did I? The dotty borders, the borders of dots in the deck by Mr. Benedetti, I think are pretty cool. And here we have the 7. Lovely. The 8 of cups. Same layout, right? Both Minchiate decks have the same layout of cups. And the 9 of cups. That was the 8. This is the 9. Very regimented looking cups there. And the 10 of cups. Yay! So, is this page going to be male or female? What do you think? Do you know? Can you guess? Here we go. It's a female page in the cups. That makes sense, right? Holding a rose, which is lovely. Hard to tell what that flower is, but this clearly is a rose to me. Love that red dress with the blue shoes. So cute. We see the plants here on the ground. It's hard to see what's going on the ground here. But I do love I love this skirting in this card. The cup is so much easier to see here than it is here. Blonde hair, fabulous. Now you'll notice that there were squares in this page, right? There were no squares in the page or the knight for the wand suit. But here in the cups, we have these squares already in the page and the knight. Looking a little bit like, I don't know, this looks like a lion to me. Here. Lion with a fish or a dragon tail, maybe? Kind of like a lion Capricorn instead of a ram Capricorn. See the flower growing out of the cup in the knight's card. Love that. Love the queen. Look at her. Look at her smile. I love this expression on her face is just gorgeous. It's gorgeous here too, but again, difficult to see. Here it's very clear to see. Love her hair in the breeze here. Little blue booties under a red dress. Fabulous. Fabulous. And the king. Looking all male and studly with his beard and his hair and his man spread. We've got a plant growing out of the cup here as well. A lot of plants and cups in the court cards here, right? This king looks a lot more, I don't know, serene, maybe a little severe. This king looks more jovial to me. Does he look jovial to you as well? That's interesting. And, okay, so the next is the coins. Let me pull the coins cards out here. Very similar. Although this coin looks larger to me than this one does. Interesting. This almost looks like it's grown into a spear at the bottom, whereas this clearly is not a spear. 2 of coins. Now, in this deck, we've got faces in the coins. We have faces and, what do we call that? When you've got just the portrait. There's a word for this kind of thing, where we see just the head and the neck and shoulders, and the word is escaping me. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, we've got those in the coins. Here we're just going to continue with that floral image, kind of like the rosy on the rosy cross. See, more faces and coins, and all different, right? Here we go with the 4. Carte fine Benedetti Roma 2022. Here it says Carte fine alla Leone. But really, this is not made in Leone, I don't think. This is made in either Bologna or Viterbo. So it's interesting that this deck claims to be from different places in the world, right? And the 5 of coins. And we continue here. Each coin has a different person, right? In this deck. The 6 of coins. Such detail. The 7 of coins. And yet they're both, in both decks, the coins are in exactly the same order. The 8 of coins. Each having a different face, different expression, facing different directions. The 9 of coins. Got a whole family, a whole crowd of people here. And finally, the 10 of coins. 5 above 5. Oops, 5 above 5. Fabulous. Okay, let's look at the pages. Okay, I lied. I was sure that one of the, maybe that was a different deck. So the chalices and the coins are female presenting pages, which is what you'd expect. And I was an idiot. I'm sorry. My memory did not serve me well this time. So yes, the cups and the coins are female pages. The swords and the knights will be male. The swords and the wands will be male pages. Here we go with the Knight of Coins. Beautiful. You'll notice that all of the knights have animal bodies, right? It's not like a guy or a girl on a horse. They have animal bodies and human heads and torsos. And the Queen. Look at that Queen. Coin held up in the air with great confidence. Hand on the hip saying, I know what I am doing and I know where I am going and that's where it is. And the King. Look at that King. Lovely. Okay, so moving on to the Ace of Swords. Look at that Ace of Swords. Look at that, wait a second, where's my ace? Uh-oh, where's my Ace of Swords? I've lost my Ace of Swords in the other deck. Just a moment. Just a moment. Let me search for my Ace of Swords. I'll be right back. I found my Ace of Swords. When I told you that the decks were off camera were starting to fall over, apparently that's when I accidentally gathered the Ace of Swords in with the already seen pile of cards. They were all back together now. So, Aces of Swords. Blue. Look at that blue. Light and dark blue here. Love that. And the Two of Swords with the, maybe an elk down there at the bottom. Lovely cards. And here we have the dark blue and black together. Very beautiful. And the Three of Swords with stars and some creature with, maybe a wolf with Romulus and Remus down there at the bottom. 2 stars up there above. The swords in this deck are so beautifully designed. And here's the Four of Swords with very clearly looking like a unicorn here. And maybe a squirrel with nuts up above. Hard to tell what we're looking at here, frankly. So it's nice to have this clarity. I love that blue on the sword blades. And the 5, we got a chicken and maybe a dog. Maybe a wolf, a fox, maybe. That would make sense, a fox and a chicken, wouldn't it? 5 of Swords. 6 of Swords. We've got a peacock at the top, though it's really hard to see that that's a peacock. But here I can see it. It's a peacock at the top, and then some 4-legged beast at the bottom, maybe a dog. for the Six of Swords. And you can see the flowers here in between the swords, where it's very difficult to see what we're looking at here in the facsimile deck. And the Five of Swords. Lovely. I mean, this flower is just chipped away, right? Here, they're all there, all crisp and clean. No caffeine. And here, look at this, with the Eight of Swords. We got some kind of creature there maybe holding a coin or something in their paws. And then a rabbit down there eating. And the Nine of Swords. And finally the Ten of Swords with two little rabbits down there at the bottom. And what looks to me like another rose or some other flower down there, here doesn't look like that to me. I don't know, it's hard to say what I see here, but here definitely see the green stem of a flower and then the red actual flower down there at the bottom. And the Page of Swords. Whoa, sorry. Page of Swords. Almost exactly the same, except for the coloration, of course. But basically the design is both of them are very much the same. Looking in the same direction, similar kind of headdress, similar kind of shield, similar kind of clothes with right to that V design down the center. Almost exactly the same. And the Knight of Swords. Look at him. Very gentle looking Knight of Swords in the Benedetti deck. This facsimile Knight of Swords looks a little harsher to me. His expression looks much more gentle. And I'm not sure what this is, but it looks more... No, it doesn't look more anything. I have no idea what this is, but it's clearer here than it is in the facsimile deck, whatever it is. And the Queen should be next. Yes, there she is, looking both regal and a little bit... Did you just say that? Did you just say that? Hand on her hips, holding a sword straight up. I'd be careful around that queen, and this queen as well. I didn't realize that was a face. Look at that. It's a face there in her bodice. Did not even know that about that thing. Interesting. And the King of Swords. Dashing King in both cards. Although actually the faded card, the facsimile card, is actually just a little bit more handsome if you ask me, but both of them, dashing kings. Love the crown in this guy. Love the blade of the sword, that we've got this pale blue and pale gray here. Lovely detail. Absolutely beautiful detail. Okay, now here comes that card which we've been waiting for, right? Well, have you been waiting for it? Do you know which card I pulled aside? Probably you do. It is the Fool card. Here we go, in both decks, pretty much the same, except for, of course, the redrawn deck is much clearer. Yeah, we got two different kinds. We got a pant leg here, and then what looks like fur on this side, but here it almost looks like scales or feathers or something like that. We got boots on both sides. Well, okay, so on this side it looks like boots. On this side, it looks like shoes with stockings with a kind of garter. Here it looks like boots to me. We can clearly see that there is some kind of a... So is that just the head of a duck, for example? Like some kind of a toy or the head of a duck? With no... Or is that the chest of the duck or the goose? Interesting. Clear to see that this is a fleur-de-lis. Difficult to see that in the facsimile card. Gorgeous. These two children, does this look like a girl child and a boy child, or do they both look like boy children to you? Here they both look like boy children to me. But this face looks more like a girl. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So friends, I'm glad that I've got both of these decks. And now I think I'm really ready to start diving into my study of Minchiate and use of Minchiate. I also got, just so you know, not Minchiate, but the Mantegna. I got the Mantegna deck. This is a deck by, let me just pull this down for a second. This is a deck by Pablo Robledo. A beautiful Mantegna deck by Pablo Robledo. I now have two Mantegna decks. This one, which I'm really excited to look at someday, soon, and also my Mantegna from, I think, Lo Scarabeo, which is a little bit cheesy, a little bit chintzy, but I think I figured out how I will want to use these Mantegna decks. If you know me, you probably already know that I love using oracle cards with tarot. And all of my large spreads, except for Tarot de Marseille, in all of my largest spreads, I always pull at least one or two oracle cards to accompany the spread. But I've never used oracle cards with Tarot de Marseille. And I think I might start using my Mantegna cards as in the role of an oracle card for Tarot de Marseille spreads sometime in the near future. I'm not saying I'm going to do that in the next month or so, but that's an idea that's bouncing around in my head. Because I really don't see myself using a Mantegna deck as a tarot deck. They're just too different for me. And there aren't the right number of cards. There are only 50 some odd cards in a Mantegna deck. But they do have a feel of an oracle deck system to me. So I'm thinking of that. Minchiate, on the other hand, I would definitely use in place of or as a tarot deck with benefits. With benefits of zodiac signs, with benefits of elements, of more of the virtues. It's a supersized, powered up tarot deck to me, the Minchiate. Does that make sense? So I'm going to start studying Minchiate a little bit on the side on my own, and someday you might see the Minchiate show up in a spread on my channel someday. But before we get there, I love the full cards. We're going to try doing a little bit of a reading here. Let me see how well I'm able to shuffle this beautiful deck by Marco Benedetti. I'm going to put the full card where I want him to be in this deck, and I'm going to... I'll try doing it here on camera. Let's see. The space is very narrow. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to do this. Let's start with an overhand. Okay, so this is how I overhand. One, uno, due, tre. Uno, due, tre. So overhanding. This deck is not bad. Not too difficult. Have to be careful of the sharp corners. And I'm really not that great of an overhand shuffler. I'm much better at riffle shuffling. Just saying. So now this is a pretty darn thick deck, right? Splitting it in half. Let's see how well I can riffle shuffle. Oh, good. Oh, that's nice. Let's see if it bridges. And I can bridge it as well. So even in a tight space here, I'm able to riffle shuffle this deck. Split it in half. Just try doing a couple more riffles for you. Now it's a little bit humid here. Summer is right around the corner, and our summers here in Korea are humid. So I'm a little concerned about the deck. The cardstock. becoming damp and easy to damage by riffle shuffling, but so far so good. So far so good. So this is not a laminated deck that doesn't have a core, at least not that I can tell. It's on good card stock, good paper stock, but yeah. We'll need, this kind of a deck, I think, will ask for attention and care when shuffling. So, this is what I'm going to do. Let me do a couple more shuffles, and what is a message, I'll try and do a 3-card spread. What is a message that would benefit us all? All of us who are here watching and appreciating this deck. What is a good message for us to take away from this walkthrough, from this collaborative experience? And what I will do is I'm going to pull the 9th card, because I don't want to spend too much time shuffling, and I think the deck will allow me to do that. I'll pull the 9th card. I'll pull the 1st card, then the 9th, and then the 9th for a 3-card spread. What is a message that we would benefit from taking away from this experience? Do one more overhand. Praying that I do not start throwing the cards all over the room. What is the message that we would benefit from taking away from this collaborative experience? Here we go. Cutting the deck. Oh, okay. So I think that's a card that wants to come out. So, 1. Okay, we got the 7 of Cups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Taurus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And, okay, so this would be the High Priestess in a tarot deck, right? Number 4 is the Emperor of the East, I believe. Let me double check, because like I said, I have not done my deep study of this deck yet, and these emperors still get me a little bit confused. So yes, Pope 4. That's Pope 4, not... Okay, so card number 2 is Pope 2, right? Pope 2? Okay, is the Empress or the Grand Duke. Number 3 is the Emperor or the Emperor of the West. This is the Popess or the Emperor of the East. And I'm reading her as the Popess, which would be, or the High Priestess in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So what do we get here for this 3-card spread? Our emotional connection with and our sharing of our care of our community is going to help us at this time. 7s to me are the moving of that suit's qualities and attributes and energy out into the community. So this is an appreciation for our community, finding our place within the community, but also having a compassion for and giving care for and using our intuitive gifts for the benefit of our community and the benefit of our place in our community. We could also lead with our emotions as well. Lead our groups, lead our people, lead our teams with and from the place of our intuition and our love. And lead with love. And as we lead with love, we we embody, we embrace each of us have Tauran elements in our personalities, whether we have Taurus as our sun, our moon, our rising, or we have another planet in Taurus, but we all have Tauran attributes to ourselves. So enjoy the material around us. Enjoy what we are doing when we are doing it. Enjoy the sensual pleasures of what is around us. And Venus is the planet which resides in Taurus too, right? So there's also that interaction with other people with Venus here, which carries forward from this Seven of Cups card. So the Venusian energy, the Venusian attributes of Taurus could also be amplified as well. Also our appreciation for beauty, but we're not going to be rushed either. We're going to do it at our own pace. And no, we're not going to allow other people to push us to do what we are going to do any faster than we want to do it. We're going to move at our own pace and enjoy the process of doing what we're doing. And as we do that, then we can, remember how I said intuition was part of this? We can study ourselves. We can study our emotional lives. We can study our unconscious. We can learn from that and share with those around us. We can become not necessarily we have to be the spiritual leaders of our groups, but we can certainly be a spiritual mentor from our learning about ourselves and learning about the contents of our unconscious by learning the contents of whatever tradition that we associate ourselves with. And it's always good to associate ourselves with some tradition to learn from our past, to learn from the brilliant, beautiful people who came before us, whether they're our blood ancestors, whether they are our tradition ancestors. If you're a witch in a coven, your coven has ancestors there as well. I mean, there are biological family with ancestors, there are selected family, intentional family with ancestors as well. So we learn from those ancestors, from those traditions, from the rituals which we carry forward. And we can share them with the group as well, while enjoying them, while enjoying the stuff. And if smells and bells are part of that ritual that we're carrying forward, enjoy the heck out of them, right? So that's what I think this deck is trying to remind us to do in the coming future and beginning now. Connect with those around us. Enjoy who we are, what we're doing. Enjoy the sensual pleasures. And at the same time, learn and share with those around us from our traditions, from our rituals, from our ancestors. So friends, this is my walkthrough of this beautiful Minchiate deck by Marco Benedetti, and I'm so happy to have this. Again, I also have a Payan deck. If you want to see a walkthrough of that deck, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this deck in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, if you are still here, hit the thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you got something out of it and other people will get something out of it as well. It helps the channel. If you hit that thumbs up button, if you comment, it helps the channel as well. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm trying to do 3 a week. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is in the description box below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. We'll get you a reading with any kind of deck. Heck, I would even try using a Minchiate deck to do a reading for you, if you want, and you let me know. Okay? So friends, here we are. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.